Hi, my name is Shelby Norris, and this is my narrated video to complete the assignment research subjects, module 4 for the science of psychology. So after researching the two sections, one for humans and one for non-humans, these are my notes and what I've gathered. For section 1, these are ethical considerations or guidelines for human subjects. So the first one that we learned about was informed consent. This was when participants must voluntarily agree to take part in a study, and they have full awareness for its purpose and for the risks and benefits and why they're doing it. The researchers should also provide detailed information so that participants can be made aware of all of it and have informed decisions. Number 2 is debriefing. After the participation, researchers should explain the study's purpose and why they did it, and for the methods as well. If they were used deceptions, and if that was used, then participants must be fully informed, and they're allowed to ask questions regarding the research. Number 3 is protecting participants from harm. The researchers must prioritize the participants' physical and psychological well-being throughout the entire research. Any potential risks should be gotten rid of, and safeguards should be held in place so that we can protect the participants and make sure that they are not harmed. Number 4 is deception. We talked about deception earlier, and so this one, if deception is necessary, it should be reasonable and not cause harm. Kind of this whole thing has been a lot of just making sure the participant is safe and happy. It should not cause harm, and the researchers must reveal the deception during the debriefing part that we talked about and explain why they used it and why they thought it was necessary to use it. Number 5 is confidentiality and being, and this is for personal data from the participant, and the responses have to be confidential and a secret and stay anonymous when it's able to happen, when they can be anonymous, but overall confidential to keep the participant comfortable. This protects the participant's privacy, and it gains their trust and keeps their trust during the research. And then last, number 6 is the right to withdraw or to leave the study. So the participants can leave the study at any time they'd like to, and there should not be any consequences to this, since this is not really they're not having to do this. So they can leave whenever they want to. And this also ensures ethical treatment and respect to all of the participants as well. So they're not being forced against their will to participate in your studies. So for section 2, this is the ethical guidelines for animal subjects. So obviously animal subjects are different because they can't always speak for them. They can never speak for themselves. And so they have a hard time protecting their own rights. So there's a little bit more for these. The first one is justification of the research. The research must have a clear scientific purpose, that it promotes knowledge, or promotes the society or health. So it has to have a good reason on why they're producing this research and why it needs to be done. The study should be designed to minimize having to use animals. Obviously, the study is going to need animals, but trying not to use as many trying to use only what's needed to successfully complete the research. Number 2 is personnel. The people who are actually doing the research, individuals involved in the animal research, have to be trained and completely competent in handling and caring for the animals and using them properly in these experiments. The proper training ensures humane treatment for these animals, and it minimizes stress on the animals, which can be harmful to them. So number 3, going along with minimizing stress, is the care and housing of animals. The animals must be housed in appropriate conditions that'll keep them safe and happy. The housing needs to meet their psychological needs, and also has to have proper food, water, ventilation, habitat, enrichment, etc. that has to be provided during the research in order to ensure their well-being. Next one is the acquisition of animals. The animals should be obtained and kept legally and ethically and lawfully from approved sources. So this just means that if you're going to use these animals, that you need to do this legally and getting them from the correct places. This means they can't be endangered or threatened species either. The researchers have to ensure the health status of the animals to meet these ethical guidelines. Next, we have experimental procedures. All experimental procedures must be reviewed and approved to ensure that they don't stress the animals out or cause them suffering or harm. So when possible, pain-relieving measures should be implemented to make sure that these animals are safe and happy. Next, we have field research. These studies involving the animals in natural settings, these are the studies that involve the animals in natural settings. So these need to minimize any harm to the ecosystems as well. So if you're going to do research out in their habitats instead of bringing them into yours, that you need to make sure that you're keeping the ecosystem healthy and try to leave it exactly how you found it. This means researchers need to ensure that their presence out in their habitats isn't causing harm, stress, or destroying their habitat or other wild animals around. Number 7 is the educational use of animals. Animals used in educational settings have to be treated with the same ethical guidelines as other ones in the research. So this means their use must be justified, just like the one we talked about at the very beginning, and they have to alternate teaching methods. That way, it's not being overused and we're not causing harm to the animals. A lot of, again, these ethical guidelines, as we've seen, has been making sure that the animals are safe and happy. But there's, I think, in my opinion, just more rules, again, because we don't really, it's not as easy for animals to tell us whether they're safe and happy and excited to be there or want to be there. And last but not least, we have research in other settings. This means the research, or what I gathered from this section, was the research was conducted outside of a laboratory. The researchers then must ensure that the animals are treated ethically and in all conditions. So this one, my notes didn't really make as much sense for. Sorry. The appropriate guidelines and ethical considerations have to be followed in order to protect all the animals and, again, their well-being. In diverse settings, this also means you have to make sure that the experts are handling the animals. So what I've gathered is just that research outside of laboratories or outside of their habitats, that everything needs to be up to par, just as it would be in their environment or in a laboratory. So that was the 8 sections for the non-animals and the 6 sections for the human subjects for making sure that your research is ethical and humane for both humans and animals and under all guidelines. Thank you so much, and that was my video.